Okay, ready.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the J Lounge. I am your hostess with the mostest, Miss J, aka Miss Simone Jackson. Here to bring you guys another great episode of the J Lounge. Of course, everyone knows we are a celebrity-based podcast show where we talk with, celebrities about different various topics and discussions. I am super excited about my next guest for today. She is a writer, director, producer, and she has an extensive resume in casting, and she also works with different networks and shows and feature films. She's also a champion for Hollywood to try to get more disability people with disability in lead roles, which I'm so for. So everyone, please give a warm welcome to Miss Eileen Grubba. Hi, Eileen.
Hi, Simone. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing wonderful, thank you.
Absolutely. I am super excited to be having you on the show. I appreciate you for being on here.
Oh, thank you. I'm honored. Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. Well, Ms. Eileen, I'm going to go ahead and fire the first question at you. I really want to know what began your passion for acting?
Wow. Okay, I think it was a lifetime of little events that added up to one big one. But when I was a child, I was an artist, and I was always into creative arts, always, always. And even did little puppet shows and stuff when I was a kid. I would make puppets and do shows. And then, as far as performance artist, as I got older, I started doing little shows in grade school, and of course I became a cheerleader as soon as I was able to, and that's a performance art. And doing musicals and all kinds of things like singing in the choir, and it added up to me going into singing in musicals for my church choir in Atlanta, and taking acting classes in Atlanta. And then honestly, what gave me the real passion was when I moved to New York City and started training in a way that I realized my life experience, which had been pretty challenging and some would say tragic, when I realized that all of that could be put to good use
Oh, yeah.
and work, and that's when it became a passion.
Oh, wow. First of all, I love the fact that you used to do puppet shows because I used to love seeing puppet shows. I really wish they would bring it back, honestly. I know people were like, well, it's kind of, too childlike, but that's kind of the point here. It kind of brings out the imagination and the creativity. So
It does, and it gets you into storytelling at a young age. And I used to make those little paper mache puppets,
yes, me
out
too.
of balloons and newspaper, and just, crafts that you could do for no money, really. And then I made all the little puppets in their little dresses, and then I did, nickel admission to my puppet shows in the neighborhood.
Oh, that is awesome. A nickel. I pay a nickel. I happily pay 2 nickels. I would happily pay 2 nickels.
I mean, the way that the industry's going with this coronavirus, we might have to go back to nickel admissions for things.
We might have to go back to puppets, which, okay, I am so for.
Right?
But, oh gosh. I love it. Going on to the number 2 question is, Miss Eileen, what roles do you gravitate to as an actress?
I gravitate towards anything that really challenges me. So usually those are very gritty, um, deep, complicated, passionate characters. I'm a very passionate human, and it would have been impossible to survive my life had I not been fired up and passionate and energetic. And so naturally I gravitate towards characters where I can use all that depth. So I love those. I
Mm-hmm.
love those deep kind of roles, and I've played pretty much everything I could think of as a challenge on the stage, at the actor's studio, and out in the world on the stage. I would say I haven't gotten to play as many of those in the TV and film world as I would like to, but that's starting to happen more and more.
Good.
The most gritty, fun one I got to play in the TV world so far was this recurring role I had on this show for NBC called Game of Silence.
Mm-hmm.
And David Hudgens is the showrunner. It was just a really wonderful, wonderful, edgy project. And my character got to span over 25 years. And she was this raging alcoholic trailer trash nut job in her youth. And older, she's this fun, almost manipulative, but fun and lighter hearted alcoholic.
If there is such a thing.
That stayed, the alcoholism stayed with her, but she mellowed with age. You know, in the younger years she's raging and fired up, and in the older years I'm just having more fun with it, you know. So
Yeah. Oh, I love roles like that. I love edgy roles. I like the roles that keep me on my seat, keep me glued, keep me just wondering, like, is this person, oh no, this person's not who I thought they were. They just like pulled a whole 360 on me. So I like complex characters like that. So
oh yeah, me
um,
too. Those are the most fun to dig into.
oh yeah, yeah. Which a little bit goes on to my number 3 question. If you could describe your dream role, or going into more depth, your award-winning role, I'm talking either Emmy, Golden Globe, Oscar, what role would that be?
Well, let's see. Well, there's 2 different answers there, because one of my dreams is to play a really fun, lighthearted, like romantic comedy,
Yes.
where I'm the female lead and I get to like be closer to my own everyday personality, which I like to have a lot of fun. I laugh, I goof off. I'm kind of known for smiling all the time, and then I play these dark, wretched characters all the time. I remember one time my sister posting on Facebook years ago, I think it was after I did Sons of Anarchy or Hung, where I'm like, you know, always these raging characters, where she wrote, you know, my sister's actually a really nice, sweet girl. I don't know why she's always playing crackhead whores. So I would love to get to play one of those, like in a fun romantic comedy, like a, you know, one of those studio ones. I just have always dreamed of doing that. However, those are not going to be the roles that win the awards that you mentioned, like the Oscars and all that. I'd love to play one, and I don't know what the role is yet, because I certainly haven't written it, but but I like these deep, complicated characters, and I imagine that the day that a feature film hits some of the depth of my life experience, and I get to play that, that will be my award-winning role. So therefore, the character would have maybe some really intense medical challenges, and maybe face her life more than once, and in addition to all that, have a lot of conflict with the people in her life close to, you know, not getting the support she needs from the people you would think it would come from, and perhaps loss on top of all of that. So, you know, it would be a character who's literally got her back up against a wall, and you would think there's no way out. That's probably going to be my big winning role whenever that gets written and created and and comes to fruition.
Ooh, I love it. I love it, especially the romantic comedy, because I do feel like, especially now more than ever, we definitely need more romantic comedies. I mean, I'm a sucker for romantic comedy. I know people usually roll their eyes, but I will defend romantic comedies passionately because I am a huge fan.
You know,
okay.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, because you know what? Sometimes, and especially in years like 2020, we need some lighthearted fun. You know, we need to be able to engage with characters who just make us smile or laugh because of their silliness or their smile or their laugh or the risks they take. You know, we need some lighthearted fun where the stakes are not so huge, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I love a good old romantic comedy. I like getting some popcorn, getting some hot chocolate, and I'm finna watch my favorite romantic comedy movies. So,
Exactly, exactly. I think you and I have a few things in common, my friend.
I'm starting to see. I'm loving it. Miss Eileen, going on to the number 4 question. as you just mentioned before, you want to play the role that kind of reflects on your, life challenges. Could you, tell a little bit about your life story to my audience and what type of, discrimination you face as a rising star in Hollywood?
Okay, well, of course, anyone who wants to know a lot of detail about it can go Google my name and find a lot of different interviews on in Forbes magazine and on the TV Academy website and stuff where I detail a lot of that. But if I were to sum it up for you with not too many words, I would say I was paralyzed from the waist down when I was a small child, less than 5 years old. They didn't think I would live. I did. Then they said I'd never walk again. In the early years, they weren't sure if it was polio or Guillain-Barré syndrome. They didn't know what caused it, but they did know it was related to the vaccines we had for school. So I ended up being put in a wheelchair, and they just kind of said that's how it's going to be. But I figured out in my little child's brain that I wanted to keep moving, and I kept trying and trying and trying and figured out how to walk again. Now I'm what you would call a spinal cord injury survivor, spinal cord injury walker. I do have some movement because I have a permanent spinal cord injury. By the time I was in my very early teen years, I started to have surgeries to rebuild my feet and ankles because I was in the wheelchair when I'm growing the most. And also because as soon as I got out of a wheelchair, I went and pursued one of my big dreams at the time, which is becoming a cheerleader. So of course I jumped around on all my little broken limbs and caused a little more damage probably from all that. But so since then I've had quite a few rebuilds, especially my left leg, and all the way into, big rebuilds, like all the bones and everything, and all the way into 2016 and 2017, where I had 2 more ankle rebuilds. And then on top of all of that, my mother died of cancer when I was very young, and in my early 30s, I was diagnosed with cancer, and it was actually not the cancer my mom had, but the one my father had, which is thyroid. But they think it was from all the x-rays, from all the things I endured as a child, radiation exposure. So that's the most logical explanation. And then, later UCLA did determine that my injury is a spinal cord injury. They can see where there was a viral attack on my spine. So we now know it wasn't polio, but it took until about 6 years ago to find that out, which is nice because now we don't have to worry about post-polio syndrome.
Right.
I have a lot of the same challenges as a person with a spinal cord injury. And I have, a lot of chronic bone pain from all the bone work that they've done and my body reacting to that with, building more bone inside. And so I have a lot of challenges. I did end up losing both my parents to cancer, but I beat it myself. And I, work every single day to make sure I'm healthy enough to never have to deal with cancer again. We have a genetic syndrome in our family, we found out later. That is the reason our mother died so young. So we have to watch out for that too. We have to be in prevention mode all the time in my family. So that's the gist of the challenges. There's a bunch more that nobody needs to know about, but that's the beginnings of it. But through the course of my career, which has been quite a while now, it's going on 3 decades. I've had a lot of surgeries in that time. I had a 20-year period where I had to wear an AFO brace on my leg, and that caused a little bit of a different movement, but it also took away a lot of the pain and made me more stable. So that was really nice. However, the industry did not love that. They did not. First of all, there's a lot of typecasting and a lot of stereotypical goes on, and we're all still fighting to get the industry to see an individual as an individual instead of putting us in a category. And there used to be this category called the P&G, Procter and Gamble type, the typical blue-eyed blonde. Well, you know, if you were the typical blue-eyed blonde, you weren't allowed to have a quote unquote flaw or difference. You had to be perfect. And, you know, they've done that to a lot of women, you know, and over the years, I just was baffled by how many times I lost a job where they later came back and said it was because somebody noticed her limping, or they'd flat out say it to my face, or they'd make fun of the whatever supportive shoes I was wearing, or they'd tell my agent, or they'd, you know, say something to my manager like, oh, she won that job hands down, but somebody saw her limping, you know. So there was through the years, there's been an awful lot of discrimination, way more than most people would even imagine was possible, to be honest. I've been made fun of in front of groups of people, you know, as an adult. It's very bizarre. I've been told I would never work in our industry because I walk funny. I've been literally told that I wouldn't make it because I'm a female who can't wear, excuse the language, F me pumps. You know,
Oh,
literally.
yeah, I heard that. Yeah, definitely.
And they were like, well, if you were a man, it wouldn't matter. And, you know, as I've gotten older, I used to just smile and walk away and just keep going and not say anything. And I did that for a lot of years. But then I realized, you know what, they're never going to let me work. So I got to change this industry, which means I got to start really getting loud about this, speaking up about it, and getting involved in groups of people who also have something to say about it. And so, you know, I ended up becoming an advocate, which was not my plan, but it became a necessity, because when you're in your youthful best years of your life as an actor and you're training constantly and you're even getting into places like the Actors Studio where your work is honored, and then you can't get more than 1 or 2 auditions a year, that shows you there's discrimination. Like, I don't
Right.
know any human being who came into this industry and had those few opportunities who is actually working hard. No one, you know. And I look at all my friends through the years of every difference, and the ones who have been stuck in that box of 2 auditions a year, no matter how hard you work, were all the people with disabilities. And I thought, oh my gosh, if it's as challenging as it is for me, when I can hide my limp, or I can, you know, it's film and television, head and neck and shoulders, you know, you're really not often having the time to see someone walk into a room. And I thought, if I'm having this much trouble, imagine what people are going through who have more noticeable challenges. And then I thought, as I got older and more sassy, like the more it went on, the sassier I got.
Yes.
And the more feisty I got. And then
Yes.
you know, one day it just occurred to me, I was like, who decided women have to be perfect? Who decided that? Why can't women age? Why can't women get wrinkles? Why can't a woman have a limp? Why does a woman have to wear high-heeled shoes? Why do we have to be sex objects? Why? Who decided that? What if I don't want to be a sex object? What if that's not my interest and I don't care what men think? How about that? And then I started thinking, you know, putting out this illusion of perfection for women in the entertainment industry, any women, is a disservice to all women, because all women are compared to what people see in the media, on TV and in film. And all women are suffering under the weight of this illusion of perfection that I think is just keeping all women down. And so
Amen.
yeah, doesn't it feel like, you know what, why can't we be all the things we are? Why can't we be exactly as we are? When I was a young girl, I was like, well, if I have to be perfect, then everyone else does too, you know? That means no balding, no fat, no big noses, no nothing wrong with anyone. If I have to be perfect, you all have to be perfect too. And then I realized, well, that's not a good way to look at things either. You
It's
know,
not.
and I was young and I didn't know it, you know, I've gone through many things in my brain trying to just get myself to keep going. But I remember, and of course I would never hold that standard to people coming into my life. It's just that when people rejected me or said, well, what about her leg? I'd be like, well, I don't think you're perfect either. So
Right.
no, you know?
Yeah, it's a defense mechanism. So
Yeah, it was a total defense mechanism, because I was like, you show me one person who doesn't have something that other people would consider imperfect. Everybody's got something. And until we get to a place where we accept everyone exactly as they are, and we accept women exactly as they are, no matter what their difference is, until we get to that place, we're not honoring the human being. You know, we're all different for a reason.
Exactly. And I completely agree with you wholeheartedly on all of it. For one, I definitely feel like your stories should definitely be heard. I definitely feel like people should know about it, especially, kids who are in your position or used to be in a position. They would, if they see and hear your story, can you imagine the spark of determination, ambition, and just inspiration that could, you know, be brought to them? It just, yeah. And I definitely agree with you. Hollywood should be, oh, Lord have mercy, has got so much work to do in destroying that word perfect. To me, perfect is
Yeah.
an illusion. I think,
It is.
honestly, we should even take it as far as remove it from the dictionary, because this is
Exactly.
nothing is perfect. I mean, what is perfect? It just,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Either nothing is perfect or absolutely everything is perfect. You know,
Exactly.
but
Exactly.
would which would also explain a lot about life because, especially, I keep advocating and talking and writing blogs and everything for the people in this community that I advocate for, who I believe are the most kept out people in all of society and perhaps almost all of time. Because if you look back to even the Holocaust, all the first couple 100,000 people that were murdered were every human being with a disability. That's how they learned how to mass murder. And then the Holocaust began. So, and if you keep looking back, like, or even into today, there are certain countries where people with disabilities are still not allowed out in public. They're seen as a shame to their own families, and I just can't even imagine being a shame to like your own mother and being have to be hidden and not allowed to go to school. That's still happening out there in the world. And it's like they're already dealing with so many challenges, like physically and emotionally and mentally, and then they have to face this disdain from society. And that disdain just comes from fear. It only comes from they don't know us.
Or don't
They don't.
understand.
Yeah, they don't see us on the screen. And the thing is, disability, there's all kinds of debates about the words everyone uses. And, words are really powerful and very important on how they sink into our brains. And I know the words alone can be challenging for people, but like this community are some of the most powerful, strong, adaptive human beings I've ever known.
Mm-hmm.
And often they have the best senses of humor. I find, what I've found in life is that my observation is that I can always tell who the people are who have truly been through hell, the worst
Mm-hmm.
ways of hell. And they are usually not the ones who are out there whining and crying and asking everyone for help. They're not. They're usually the ones who are smiling, silently starving or suffering. And you can see it in their faces, you can see it in their souls, that they've fought so hard just to survive, that their smile is deep in their soul. It comes bouncing out of them on normal days. They're usually not even complaining. They just want equal opportunity. They just want a fair shot at stuff. And the people who've really been through the most, boy, are they the best at survival, and they are the best at adapting to every circumstance. They're the first ones to laugh in the midst of a storm.
Mm-hmm.
And they are, in my opinion, the strongest people on the planet. They have had no choice but to be that. And I can't for the life of me wrap my head around how society, or why they would want to shut out their strongest survivors, their strongest people. Because in the end, aren't we all aren't we all going to end up fighting for our lives one day? And
Exactly.
in that case, aren't we going to want to know the people who fought and won?
Exactly. I totally agree. I could not agree with you more. It definitely is a shame that it's still going around in the world that's happening. But I think with more people like yourself that who continue to show, hey, I'm not ashamed. This is who I am, and I'm proud of it, and I will continue to move on and live my life with a smile. And there's not much y'all can do about it. So
Yeah, and it's heartbreaking and it's devastating to see how hard we have to fight. And
mhm.
if you listen to any story of somebody who's been through a lot of hell, you're gonna hear their battle, and you're gonna hear this edginess and this fight that comes out of them that does scare a lot of people who haven't fought as hard. It scares the crap out of people.
Right.
And I would love to encourage everyone who doesn't understand that passion to think about what these people have been through to still be here. So then if they're edgy, understand that that's their defense and that's how they fight. And if they're edgy with you, maybe there's something you're doing that's making them feel like you're going to do the same thing to them that the 1,000 prior people did, and or you're going to harm them in some way. And I wish we would get to a place where we could make it a safe place for them to go into any room, to try out for any job, to be considered equally for any role, in whatever walk of life they choose to go into. Because then I think we'd be bringing in a lot of our game changers, people who have different thoughts on how to do things, and therefore probably have lots of ideas on how to survive and how to change the dynamic that we have in the world today that is scaring so many people. Well, I think it's time to bring in these game changers who are really good at adapting, adjusting, overcoming, surviving, thriving, no matter what the world's throwing at them.
I absolutely agree. I definitely hope everyone who's listening in really takes and connects with that, because again, like she said, we cannot continue to shut out our strongest survivors.
Yeah.
If you want to know how to fight, how to survive, and how to do it with a smile and persistence,
Yeah.
these are the people that we need to put to the forefront and we need to listen to. So we need to hear their stories. We need their stories.
Yeah, and we should never feel like it doesn't matter to us, because the reality is they are in every community. They're within every age range. They're within every religion, every country, every city, every town, every community, every color, everything. People with disabilities are all in there. And if we've learned anything about, even just recently, we lost this brilliant actor, Chadwick Boseman, who so many people revered, and so many people were shocked to learn that he was having to hide his illness, his disability. And I'm like, if they knew our industry, they'd know exactly why he had to hide it. It would have never worked if they knew he was ill. It wouldn't have happened.
And you're absolutely right.
Yeah, that's the reality. So of course he had to hide it. I've had young actors come into town with disabilities who don't understand my battle. They're like, well, why did you hide it? And I was like, I didn't have a choice. I had to hide it as long as I could, because I needed to make a living. I needed to make health insurance to stay alive. So please don't judge my having to do whatever I had to do to keep going. I did what I had to do, and I really don't care what anybody thinks about that. I didn't do anything wrong or against my integrity, but I couldn't just go walk into a room and be like, hey, here's my brace. Believe me, I tried, and then those doors shut and I never got through them again. So you learn. And of course, I'm sure he realized, if I want to keep doing the work I'm doing, I can't show it. So I think people need to realize that it can strike anyone, anytime. My mom used to tell me that when I was a kid and dealing with bullies at school and stuff. She said, any one of those kids could walk out in front of a bus any day and end up in worse shape than you. They're just not thinking about how close any one of us is to being in the shape that you're in, or having a disability or a challenge, or we all know kids even are getting diagnosed with cancer. There's challenges everywhere. It's just a part of life. And I think that if we would stop being so afraid of it, we could learn more about it. And then when and if it hits our lives or the lives of someone we love, we have a lot more resources on how to handle it, if we would just accept all the other 20% of the population that we've left out.
I totally agree. I totally agree with that. Yeah, those are all really powerful, and I just could not agree with you more, for sure. Um, and kind of funny enough, you definitely did answer my number 5 question in your own opinion. You know, why do you think
Uh-huh.
Hollywood's still behind in giving people with disabilities the lead roles? And you definitely answer that. You know, their obsession with perfection, them not recognizing, you know, people with disabilities, still not recognizing them as actors and everything. So,
They're also not fully yet appreciating the depth of the human race. They're
that
also not realizing that the masses out there, the general public, the people watching television and film the most, are far more evolved than they like to think.
absolutely.
And the people out there, the audiences, they don't necessarily want to be held to this model of perfection either. I know the women don't. Um,
And
and you know what? I think people are far more accepting out there than the industry yet realizes. So I think
I
as
totally agree.
start putting out, and they've started doing it. It is really starting to shift in the last couple of years, and they're finding out audiences love these characters. They love them. They can empathize. They can connect with them because they're not so far removed. They're not some icon up there in a unreachable space. They're real people.
Yes, they're human beings just like you and I.
Yes,
You know,
ma'am.
so it's I'm glad, you know, slowly but surely Hollywood's opened their eyes, but they can definitely push in more work for sure.
Well, we still have a long way to go, and we need to get the industry to understand that the public is ready. There is a
Yes,
groundswell out there. They are very, very ready.
mm-hmm.
And so many of the stories have, through the years, that have won Academy Awards and all that, have been stories about disability, but they've only begun to scratch the surface of the value of those stories because they've yet to see them portrayed by people who've lived those experiences. And like last year, I got to play a character who had spinal cord injury caused by the medical industry, cancer survivor who's facing another surgery. And that's basically, sum that up. That's my life experience. I got to play that on the TV show New Amsterdam.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And it made a huge impact. And I started getting letters from people who don't even know me, who sought me out online to say thank you for finally accurately portraying what we go through.
Oh, that is amazing. That is amazing.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's a
Um,
great experience. Yeah.
mhm. Going on to the number 6 question, Miss Eileen, I want to make sure my audience and everyone listening in keeps up with you and your work and your advocacy. Where are you on social media?
I am on Instagram. I have a Facebook professional page. The personal one is full, so better to go to the professional one that has the little blue check. I have a website and Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. I'm everywhere by my name, Eileen Grubba, EILEENGRUBBA.
And I highly encourage everyone to follow Miss Eileen and definitely check out her work and definitely learn more about her story because it is quite powerful. And I feel like people will genuinely feel a connection with it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Going on to number 7 question. What future projects are you involved with, Miss Eileen, that you can dish to the J Lounge audience?
Haha. Well, I just booked one, but I'm not going to say much about it right now because you always have to wait till the deals are all
Of
done and
course.
all that stuff. So one really fun one that just came through, and then I booked another nice role with a director named Steven Savage, and the film is called Ulysses Coyote. And because of coronavirus, it's been pushed to shoot in the spring, but we'll shoot that in the spring here in California, probably around Idlewild and around. Then we did 2 different disability inclusive short films, which is something I like to do whenever I have a team and time. And one is called Dead End Drive, and it's so much fun. Written by Tobias Forrest, who's a quadriplegic. And we have 3 actors with disabilities in the lead roles, Austin Basis, me, and Toby. And that is going out to festivals now. We just got into our first festival and we just started the submissions, and then another one, Dark Hearts, which we're getting really close to hitting the festivals with. That was directed by a guy named Kevin Sullivan. So those are getting ready to go out there, and then hopefully we're back to, TV work soon, I'm hoping.
Yeah, those sounds incredibly exciting. Make sure you keep me posted because I would love to learn more and definitely like to check out for more.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Miss Eileen, we just got 3 more questions for you. Your number 8 question is, what are some of your passion outside of acting, writing, and directing?
Okay, well, outside of acting, writing, and directing, which are all things I love, let's see. Well, you know what? I still love doing my artwork and my crafts, and just, like one of the things I just did this last week or so was I took all my decorations out and I pulled them all together and made my house covered from head to toe in fall, harvest, and Halloween things. I even decorated my Christmas tree to look like the fall harvest.
Love it. I like going to the same thing, so I love it.
It just makes me happy, and we're stuck in our houses so much now because of this coronavirus, and I'm trying to just stay away from all that because I don't need any more health challenges, and so I'm in my apartment a lot. That makes me miss my home. I used to have a home in Atlanta, and I keep putting it out into the universe. I really want to get a TV series that shoots in Atlanta so I can go back to that area and have a home again and do my gardening and planting. I love bright flowers, and I love having an art room space to create. I love doing my creative stuff, so I need a bigger home in order to do that, because apartments in LA, they're kind of small.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
But those are some of my huge passions, and but writing and acting on the stage, I just love all that stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love being creative as well. I love having a room for just art and just creating. It just brings out more inspiration because I just got a room specifically for creating. So
yes. And I have a passion for connecting people too. And I like, through the years, they used to joke about me being the Energizer Bunny out here in LA, and all roads lead to Eileen, because I knew so many people and I connect people together a lot. So I used to have a lot of parties, and I miss that with the coronavirus. And of course, if I get back to Atlanta and have a house again, I'll have bigger parties.
Of course.
I miss having big groups of people come together and just have fun.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I know. Hopefully we'll be able to get back to normal sometime soon.
Eddie.
All right. So we just got 2 more questions for you, Miss Eileen. Going on to number 9, name 3 directors you would love to work with.
That I would love to work with. Well, there's so many that I would love to work with. I read your thing a little wrong, and I thought you said loved to work with. So I made a list of 3 that I have worked with that I love working with. So I'll tell you those 3, and then gosh, there's so many that I would love to work with out there. I just can't even begin to tell you how many of them I would love to work with that I haven't. Just like, there's so many of them I would love to work with. The 3 that I wrote down for you when you asked that question was Rachel Lederman, who I worked with on New Amsterdam, was just an absolute dream to work with.
Oh,
really open, wonderful woman, safe space, just really wonderful at creating the environment you need to bring your best stuff to the screen. I worked with Niels Ardenopolov on the pilot of Game of Silence, and he was just an absolute joy to work with. Really a joy to work with, a lot of fun. And there's a woman named Holly Dale that I worked with on a few different shows through the years, and I love working with her too. Basically, I love directors who know how to add to what you're bringing to the table and know how to bring out the best in you and give you the space to do it. Trust you to do it, and then they add to what you're bringing. So, and I have yet to work on the big studio features and all that stuff. So there's so many directors in that arena that I would love to work with. I mean, I can't even think of one I really wouldn't want to work with.
That is fair enough.
Yeah.
That is absolutely fair enough. It's like the pool is so huge of different directors to work with. So I totally think that's fair.
Yeah, and the
For
more
sure.
creative and collaborative they are, the more I want to work with them. And every job is like a new experience. So I'm always open to jumping in and finding out what I'm going to learn from the next one, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, coming up to the last question there for you, Miss Eileen.
Mhm.
What's some of the best advice you received as an actress, and what advice would you give other actors?
I have a lot of advice that jumps out in my brain through the years that I've gotten from different people, directors, actors, and stuff. But I would say the most important piece of advice that people repeatedly gave me through the years is never give up. Never give up. Do not let them stop you. And that piece of advice came from so many different people that were important through the years, one of them being Martin Landau, and he was a phenomenal force in my learning at the Actors Studio, and Carmen Argenziano, who was constantly saying, "Don't ever let them stop you." You know, he left me before he passed from this world saying, "Take over the town, Eileen, take it over. Please take it over." So I would say never give up is the most important piece of advice I've ever gotten. And the advice I would give other actors, never give up. And I have to say this to all the young actors coming in, because what I know for a fact, and literally if you removed every label, every category, every group, just remove all that and just you're looking at all the human beings who are artists, I see one thing, only one thing that they have in common if they succeeded. That is that they work harder than everyone else around them. You work hard, and eventually you will find your way through, no matter what the resistance is, no matter what the obstacle is. If you work hard enough and you make sure your work is at the top of your game and you never stop learning. This is something I saw at the Actors Studio. I still see through the years. We've got 80 and 90-year-olds still working on their craft, still training. I think great actors never stop working. And I hear a lot of people making a lot of excuses through the years of why they never got their break. This stopped them, that stopped them. But the reality is all those people saying those things didn't work hard enough. And I have seen this consistently, even if you look at anyone out there who should have not made it based on society's BS and who made it bigger than everybody else, you'll find that factor is always there. They worked their butt off and they never stopped working. And so that's the thing I would tell everybody is, you know, work your ass off. That's what you've got to do. You have to make sure you are at the top of your game. You have to be great. Good or okay as an actor is not going to get you work anymore. There's way too much competition. You need to be better than everybody else, regardless of what your perceived limitations are or what anyone else tells you. I had plenty of people tell me I was never going to work as an actor. Never, never, never. Did I listen to them? No, I laughed often when they said it and walked out the door and then went and knocked on a bigger door. So you just keep going, keep going, keep going. Work harder than everybody else. I remember being at a Women in Film event many years ago where Whoopi Goldberg was talking.
Ooh.
And she talked about how all the things that people said to her about how she was never going to work and all the reasons. And she talked about it and said, do you know that one day, she said everybody used to tell her she wasn't going to work because she was too ugly. And they were constantly telling her this. She said she even had an agent that gave her a certificate for like a nose job for Christmas one year. So constantly, here she is battling and trying to raise a child, I believe, and just make ends meet. But she knew she wanted to do this. And they kept saying too ugly, too ugly, too ugly. Well, then this movie Color Purple came along, and what they wanted was somebody that was perceived to be ugly. So she got the job and she did The Color Purple. And you know what she said at the end of her speech? She said, you know what? When Steven Spielberg is walking you into a room, no one thinks you're ugly anymore.
Mm.
And what she was trying to say is that, you know what? I'll sum it up like this. She said, whatever it is that people tell you is the reason you're not going to work is the very reason you are going to work if you just work hard enough and keep going. So, and I believe she's right. So whatever it is that everyone says is the reason you can't get in the door or the reason you're not going to make it, you take that thing, embrace it, shine it like a supernova, go out into the world proud of whatever it is, and that is going to be the reason you get your break, and it's going to be the thing you're known for. You know, people thought they were going to keep me out of the industry because of my limp. Guess what? It is the reason people know who I am now, and you know, there it is. You just got to keep going. And I'll never forget her telling that. Whatever it is you believe is the reason you're not going to make it is the very reason you are going to make it if you just work hard enough and keep going.
Ooh, that just sent chills down my spine because I totally understand. Yeah, yeah. I totally felt that way with, sometimes with the podcast. Can I keep going? Because I don't think I'll be able to make a niche in this world, but yeah, just keep going.
We do have to keep going. And, you know, anytime that I feel like, I need to find my next inspiration, I often will go find all those inspirational, motivational things on YouTube. I recently listened to one that Oprah did that was like 50 pieces of advice from Oprah Winfrey. I was like, yeah, I'm going to listen to that one. And, you know, I like to find people who've been through things that I feel have been super challenging and listen to what they did to make their break, because whoever's been through the most, they're the ones who succeed the greatest. So I try to find them and listen to them. Right now I'm listening to a book on tape by David Goggins, and I'm just fascinated by how this guy has excelled beyond what most people can even explain.
Right.
And he's not an actor, but you know, he went from one horrific hell of a childhood into being a Navy SEAL and then being this, you know, one of the world's top athletes. And I love finding people who have been through hell and got through it and kept going. And those are the ones I look up to when I need some inspiration.
Yes, I completely agree with you. And I definitely feel like I need to definitely go back and watch some Color Purple with some Whoopi Goldberg, get inspired again. Because now that you said all that, that's all I can think about. Like, do we own the Color Purple? I don't know. I'm gonna find it though. So I'm gonna definitely watch it. So I'm gonna definitely find it though. Whether I'm on the DVD or on my computer, I'm definitely gonna find it though. Miss Eileen, you have been an absolute pleasure to talk to. I not only love your story, but I love your attitude. Keep going, work hard, work your ass off, embrace, who you are, and get rid of the word perfection, because it's not real. So
yep, I like to say shatter the illusion of perfection, shatter it, because it is an illusion. So
it is an absolute illusion.
Yeah.
But I feel, honestly, really, after talking with you, I feel completely inspired, and I want to continue to work as hard as I can for my podcast and get it to where I want it to be. So
yes, do that, yes. And take the risk, if you don't mind my interjecting here. Like, go on Instagram and on LinkedIn and find all the people you wish would listen to your podcast and just reach out to them. You have absolutely nothing to lose for trying, absolutely nothing to lose and everything to gain. So
absolutely, and I totally agree with you, and I'm definitely going to not only do that, but yes, I'm going to continue, because I just feel really inspired, and I really hope everyone listening in, you feel just as inspired. And because Eileen, you are just Wonder Woman in your own definition. That's all I can say.
Thank you, Simone. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Of course, you guys, I want to thank my guest, Miss Eileen Grubba, one more time for joining in with us. Make sure you guys who are listening, and make sure you guys go and follow her on all her social media. Check out her work, and of course, check out her story. It is incredible. It's powerful, and I definitely feel like you guys will definitely feel a connection with it. So definitely do that, and definitely join the advocacy of getting Hollywood to give people with disabilities more lead roles. We need stories like her on the big screen. It needs to be not just once in a blue moon, but it needs to be the norm. It needs to be part of the mainstream.
Yes,
So
yes, yes.
she
I,
said yes, yes,
yes,
yes.
yes, yes.
So definitely join in and help us fight with that, because I will definitely join in, because I definitely agree. Hollywood, get rid of your blueprint on perfection and
Yes.
start casting real people, because we got
Yes,
stories.
yes. Whoever's trained and ready, let it be an equal playing ground for everyone. Let the best performer win the role every time.
I couldn't agree more. Amen to that. Oh my goodness. Okay, for everyone listening in, of course, you guys know I am your hostess with the mostest, Miss J. And of course, I will be back with another great episode of the J Lounge. Till then, I want to thank everyone for listening in. I want to thank my incredible guest, Miss Eileen Grubba. You guys, this is Miss J. I'll be back soon with another great episode. Till then,
Thank you, Simone. Have a
bye.
great day. Keep shining.